A few weeks ago, I made a short, and the short was about the phrase policing without fear or favour that the government will wheel out on a weekly, even daily basis now to say the police act impartially and they apply the law without fear or favour. And the point I made when I was addressing you in that short was that's actually true. They are applying the laws of the land as written, whether that is the Equality Act, the Human Rights Act of 1998, Race Relations Act in the 1960s. And this doesn't just go for the police, this goes for the judiciary and the government, which is why we cannot deport that vile grooming gang leader, because the law says we can't. This is a holdover from empire, and this is an ideology that's run its course in my particular view. Now, the simple answer is if the law is an ass and the law is providing the wrong outcomes, you change the law. So we're going to get into the video. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about this attack in Birmingham, where a local lad appears to have been set upon by a bunch of migrants and the police arrest him. This is not an outlier case. Again, like the Henry Noack case, this is a particular high-profile case, and there's many more of these that happen that we don't actually know about. These are just the highly advertised cases, so always bear that in mind. Two of the police officers that were involved in the incident with Henry Novak the night he was murdered are under investigation for gross misconduct. Don't hold your breath. Nothing's going to come of this. This is simply a PC. This is a public exercise because they remain on duty and they're not facing criminal charges or prosecution. This is simply so they can hold their hands up and say, look, we've actually responded to what's going on. So what I want to do first of all is I want to play the actual video of the incident. This is very partial, this isn't all of it, and I'll dissect it a little bit as we go on. First of all, I've had my collar felt by the police on exactly one occasion. They stopped me, they clearly identified themselves as police officers, they highlighted specifically to me why they were stopping me, they searched me, they ran me through the computer, they cautioned me, and sent me on my way. That is how it's meant to work. Now, when this happened to me, it may have been maybe 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, but I think it was around 2012, 2013. The College of Policing had barely been established at that point. That was established in 2012. That is how the police are meant to behave and meant to act. And in a historical context, that was always the vision of Robert Peel's police when they were set up nearly 200 years ago. All of that has been messed up by bad legislation and bad law. We need a complete overhaul. This is the first thing I noticed when I watched this video is the police officer didn't identify themselves as police. They didn't do that. They literally accosted this guy as he was on the floor after he was assaulted. He was the victim, and the assumption is he's the one in the wrong. And then they start swearing at him. Fair enough, he did lash out, but his ass was on the floor. He was disorientated, and that is understandable. And this job's worth of a police officer, I use that phrase loosely, she's very sweary and she's trying to assert authority, but nobody's buying it. So we continue. This has already been parodied on the internet by AI. by a lot of people, and it is quite funny actually. But this isn't a laughing matter. This is happening day in, day out in all three jurisdictions of this United Kingdom, whether that's England and Wales, Northern Ireland, or Scotland. This is the fundamental point. This is what we need to address at the roots and cut out the rot. The police officers, through the College of Policing, have been told that DEI mandates treating people equally rather than fairly is what matters. This is why you can get Abdul from Kabul and he gets a five-star hotel or a house at my expense because it's about equity. All right. For some reason, we have to treat the entire universe of people like the great British taxpayer. And it's every single institution, like the police. This is how they're applying the law. It's very misguided, it's ill judged, and it's very bad legislation. Gee, I'm a lad that's on that three now. Bro, he's trying to fucking slap me up, bro. What the fuck you want? Excuse me. What the fuck? Gee, I'm a little brother's life, bro. What the fuck? I'm trying to go home, bro. What the fuck? I'm trying to go home, bro. Please, please, I'm trying to go home, bro. What the fuck? Gee, please, please, I'm trying to go. Please, please, I'm trying to go. Please, I'm trying to go. The reason why they're arresting him is because it's easy. They don't much care that the actual perpetrators of the altercation have escaped. They have an arrest. They have the correct outcome for all their crime statistics. It's all about going after the low-hanging fruit, which is why they like to try to arrest people or intimidate people for thought crimes, non-crime hate incidents, or upsetting people online. It's easier. There's no actual police work required. They can look at a tweet and they can say, well, we can interpret this any which way we want. And it's an easy arrest for them. It looks very good on that statistics. Especially when you get your little girls who are police officers, like in this video. They don't want to go and try and take down a drug baron. Most of the point, they can't actually do that because think of their human rights. All of the human rights acts, all the equity and inclusion policies, they all need to go. And thankfully, Restore Britain, and to a lesser extent Reform UK, are on the same page with this. The much more hardline approach is what we need, but all major political parties on the right, even the Tories, are highlighting this issue. But we continue. Yo, please, I'm trying to go. Gee, what the fuck, bro? I'm trying to go. You know what the fucking car, you dick? What the fuck, bro? Please, I'm trying to go. So we'll end this here. It even comes down to the wording of the police oath, which was changed in England and Wales. I think it was in 2002. Originally, it was about protecting the king's peace and property and serving the monarch, and now it's changed. So we're going to look at this now. The old oath pledged to service to Our Lady Sovereign the Queen, focusing on protecting persons and properties of Her Majesty's subjects without malice. The new declaration, post 2002, yet again, thanks a lot Tony Blair, thanks a lot Keir Starmer, this is your legacy, was updated for Charles III, emphasises fairness, integrity, diligence, impartiality, while upholding human rights. It explicitly promises to protect all people, broadening the scope before, not just of subjects. So again, that's a fundamental change. It used to be people who were paying taxes, people who were subjects or citizens of the Crown in this United Kingdom. Now it happens to be anybody in the country. And when they say policing by consent, what they mean is policing in the diversity's particular needs. You'll remember when the riots were going on in 2024, certain ethnicities, certain religions had community leaders, and they were policed very, very differently to the alleged far-right thugs who were protesting after the murders in Southport. All right, this is two-tier policing and is fitting into all of the blowout legislation. We need to go back further. We need to go back to the Race Relations Act in the 1960s, and there's also the British Nationality Act 1948, and revisions in the 70s and 80s, which need to be looked at too. But again, we've got a useful table here with all of this information here between the old oath and what it was due to protect and the new oath. The old oath, without fear, favour, affection or malice. The new one's all about fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality. There's no specific reference to human rights in the old one compared to the new one. Her Majesty's subjects, and now it's all people, irrespective of whether they are subjects of the Crown or not. All of it needs to go. Nobody consented to this. We need a complete overhaul. Restore Britain has come out quite strong on this, with Henry Bolton releasing a few videos because he's very much talking up the law and order aspect and also the armed forces. This needs immediate attention. We need a complete rewriting and a restoration to please Tony Blair to make sure that everybody is treated equally, regardless of race. All this stuff will continue. As always, your mileage may vary. Like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.